For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I got a question for you. How do you feel about being a customer nowadays? You know, I've talked many times on this show. I always say customer service ain't what it used to be. And it seems like every day I'm hearing more and more stories from people who just are fed up with the way they're treated as a customer and how, you know, it's not customer service first anymore when you go into a business or a retail establishment, whatever it might be. So I was having a conversation with our producer, Suzanne, yesterday. She had an issue. She's got a parking pass for a place where she has a membership, right? And so it's one of those things where you put it on your dash or you put it on your window so that when you do park, it's like validated parking in a way, okay? So she's got one of these and it wasn't working. So I guess either it scans or it does something to, then the little gate opens up to the parking complex, right? Like it's one of those kinds of situations. So she's had an issue where it's not working. You know, I'm sitting there in my car, I'm trying to get it, and then there might be somebody now behind you, and you're kind of like, they're waiting, and now it doesn't work for you. So what do? You have to signal to them, like, can you back up? Because I have to back out because I can't get in. So Suzanne ends up reaching out to the place. Now, it was the establishment to which she has the membership. It's not their parking structure, though. So she reaches out to the place where she has the membership, and they go and say, well, you've got to reach out to the property people, right? The property owner or the parking complex owner kind of a thing. So she said, I'm bounced around to, all these people. She said the customer service thing to do would be, hey, place where I have a membership. You know what? Sorry to hear about that. You know what? Go do your thing it's a fitness facility. I'm okay. So anyway, you go do your workout, go do your racquetball, go do your whatever. We'll work on it. We'll handle it, right? Like that would be the customer service. You own that interaction. You own that transaction. And then when Suzanne is done her workout or done her session, she comes out, oh, hey, Miss Suzanne, you know what? Here's the number for you. Here's who's going to contact you on Monday, or here, I got the person's direct information. She said, that's what I expect for customer service. And not just, well, it's not our parking lot, so you've got to, call them, or, and now she's got to go on this wild goose chase, right? Now, again, I realize that it's not the fitness facility's problem, but if it's something that you're including with a membership fee or with your service, it kind of is then, isn't it? I mean, it kind of does sort of cross that line. Yes, it might be an add-on. It's a nice to have, but you're using it as a selling feature for your product. And that's the problem when you rely on an outside source, right? A third party. Because if they screw over your customer, it makes you look bad, right? So I got a couple other stories today, but that's just one example of, customer service ain't what it used to be. But my cousin works at a national pharmacy, and he does the construction. He does the builds of new stores. So he's traveling around all the time. He was just telling me about a grand opening. I talked to him on Saturday, and he got back into town, and I thought, this is ridiculous! And I'm going to tell you that story coming up right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. SpeakFreeWithJB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here, back on the Scribble. So it's not just customer service ain't what it used to be. I'm thinking that customers ain't what they used to be. You know, back in the day, you used to have a little patience. Now, I understand people getting just completely fed up because they feel disregarded. They feel, I don't know that when you get a job now, if it's front facing, if it's public facing, working, a service job, I don't know that necessarily customer service is the focus. I think, you're hired and then the training is basically the product or the computer system or whatever it is. And that's it, right? That's the functionality of the job, not necessarily, the fundamentals. And perhaps that's because employers maybe just think, well, if you're working in a customer service job, you are going to be friendly. You are going to welcome people. You are going to thank them. I mean, I can't tell you, not that I want to be thanked by the cashier at the grocery store, whatever, but why do I feel like I say thank you to the store more than they say thank you to me? And again, it's just something that I've noticed. I'm not expecting them to bow down and kiss my ass and thank you for shopping. Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for... But it seems like when they ring it up and then they hand me the bill or whatever, I thank them. And I want you to think about this next time that you go to this, if it's not one of those self-checkout god-awful machines, but just listen to hear if the counter employee thanks you for your business. Because I think back to when I was an assistant manager at Party City. Now we're going back to when I was, how old was I? 20 or 21, maybe even both ages. But that was part of the, thank you for calling Party City where the lowest prices are guaranteed. Jeremy speaking, how may I help you? And you definitely thanked them when you handed them their receipt. That was part of the deal, But anyway, so my cousin, he works at a national pharmacy. Well, yeah, he works for a national company, and then he does the builds of the stores and the renovations as well. And so when they do grand openings, he said what they do is they will have... like the first however many people through the door will get a gift bag or whatever it is. And a lot of times it's even just like product samples, right? It's just some, cheap little things that they can either get from suppliers or whatever as a promotional marketing material. So he was telling me that they just did one and they had 500 bags. Because again, this isn't just like a little corner store mom and pop shop. This is a big national chain, right? So they're going to have money. They're going to go all up. So they, of course, have a lineup outside before it even opens because it's advertised, right? The first however many people get. And in that gift bag will be a gift card or, just even products and things. So he said the store staff told him, he works at the corporate thing, so but the store staff who's like on the ground there, who's watching the crowd, who's front and center, said that one woman came through with her daughter 4 times. So now you're looking at 8 bags, right? 2 of them, 4 times. She came through with her daughter 4 times to get 8 gift bags. He said he could not believe when he heard that. Like, it's one thing, when you go to Costco and you get the sample and then maybe you go back 15 minutes later and hope the person doesn't recognize you. But again, it's a little sample, right? 4 times. Now, then my cousin said, what do you think that's teaching the daughter? Right? I mean, is it stealing, I guess, is the question, right? It's a giveaway. It's a freebie. Is it stealing? No, because you're the one handing it over to her. So, I mean, it's, but is she stealing from other customers? Okay, then there's a moral or an ethics thing there. But I don't know. Is it slimy? It's just something you think about it when you go to a trade show booth and you get a pen or a coffee mug or something. You might sneak another one. 4 times 2, 8. I'm a cheapskate. I wouldn't do that though, but I mean, I might go and say, to my husband or to somebody, hey, can you swing by the store and get me one? But when the store staff is caught on to you, I mean, at least try a different outfit or something. You hear about that too at Costco, right? Well, I put on my hat, or I put on my hat backwards, or I put my glasses on, or I did something to just sort of change my appearance. Okay, but I should have asked him. I did not. I should have asked him. So did they just tell her to get lost? Did they, kick her out? What? I mean, when you think about it, though, I mean, 500, that could last several hours, right? I don't imagine, even when there's a new Apple store or something, I don't know that there's 500 people camped out. This is, like I said, it's a drugstore chain. It's not even, like this is some big high-end thing. So, she could have come back later in the day. I mean, it was very strange. So tell me what you think about that. Is that, would you have done it? Is she a bad example? Is she a bad parent? Is it considered stealing, at least from other people? Send me an email. The address live, L-I-V-E, at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. So it reminded me of a situation that happened. And it's funny because I'd said to my cousin, I've never really gone to a grand opening before. I just don't, I'm not that excited about a product or a company that I'm just yes, they're finally here. I know that it happened in my hometown of Winnipeg when Krispy Kreme donuts opened. There was, I think they said, there's a drive-through there, right? I've never been to Krispy Kreme. I don't even know. Is there a drive-through? There was a lineup. I don't know if it was to get into the parking lot or if it was to get into the drive-through, but there was the traffic nightmare apparently. And it's out kind of it's not in a central part of the city. It's kind of far out. And the neighborhood was kind of just oh my God, this traffic is nuts here. And it was like that for the grand opening because they were, again, whether it was free donuts or something, I can't, this was a couple years ago now, and I've never even been to Christmas. I don't know what the fascination is. When there's a new, I think it happened with Arby's too. Winnipeg had an Arby's in a mall or in food courts, and then they closed, and then they opened a freestanding store or restaurant. And again, that was also a few years ago. Actually, it might even be near the Krispy Kreme. I don't spend much time in Winnipeg anymore, but I remember that there was this big thing that Arby's was coming back into Winnipeg, and I'm sitting there going, well, I remember it being at least in 2 malls back then, but again, I didn't know that they closed, so whatever. But that's, you've got to have loyalty if you're just waiting for this restaurant to come back, and people are trekking across the city. Now, Winnipeg's not as big as a place like Los Angeles here, so, it's not an hour and a half commute. I guess No, I was going to say, even if you're on the complete other end of the city, it's still not that long. But I mean, even trekking 45 minutes just to go and get donuts or Arby's that's a real commitment. I wouldn't do it. So there was that with Krispy Kreme. Now, I remember, so I just said I'd never gone to a grand opening. I did. It was several years ago. It was fascinating to observe because I was one of the people in line. I'm going to tell you about that coming up on the Scribble right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here on the Scribble. All right, so a grand opening celebration, right? You get the flyer in the mail, or you see the TV commercial, or you get the ads on social media, and it's we're opening this weekend, and we've got balloons for the kids and free gift card for mom and dad, and the first 10 people get this, and so that happened. I was out. Okay, so this is going back probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's about 3 or 4 years ago. Now, I've said on the show before, my husband and I, we sleep in until maybe 11 o'clock or noon almost every day. But there was one Saturday, for some reason, we were both up early. We're like 8 o'clock on a Saturday. We're not even up that early during the week. So I happened to open up one of our company's Facebook pages for one of our businesses. And right at the top was an ad for a pizza place that was opening in our not quite in our neighborhood. See, this is where it's going to sound so pretentious. We're in kind of a ritzier area of the city, so we don't have little like strip malls and pizza joints. We just have really nice big houses. The pizza place was down. It was about a mile or so away. It wasn't like right, on our street. We don't have that in this neighborhood. So we had to do some grocery shopping, and in the little strip mall, there's the grocery store, there's the liquor store, there's a pet store, there's a bank, and then there was one other thing. What was there? Oh, a dollar store for us to just get some cheap little things for the dogs. So basically, this one little strip mall, it's a one-stop shop for us, right? We could go get the groceries, we go, So in this little strip mall, there was a pizza place opening. Now, we did the grocery shopping because we thought it was close to Christmas, and we thought, it's a Saturday, it's going to get really busy, so let's go early. We were up at 8:30. We left the house by about 9:45, I would say, let's say. And so we go, and like I said, I saw the ads the night before, forgot about it, and then we go to the grocery store, and we see there's all of these balloons outside. Now, the balloons were the same color as their logo and their branding or whatever. So the pizza place is not right beside the grocery store. There's a couple of units in between. So I said, oh, that's right. I remember seeing that ad. The first 10 people in line get free pizza for a year. The next 10 people get a free pizza that day. And then the next 10 people, it went lower and lower. I can't remember what the next one was. The next one was like a free slice and a drink maybe. And then the next 10 would get 50% off or something. Like, so, it went down as you went on. But the first, 10 were getting pizza for a year. So you have to remember that we're in Winnipeg in December. So it's at least minus 30 or so. Like, it was very cold that morning. These are the mornings in Canada where you send your husband out, or you have the remote starter for your car, and so he started up the truck, and I was like, you go and brush off, because it had snowed the night before. I'm like, we'll go grocery shopping. I was in my fancy sweats and hoodie. I don't even try, even though our neighborhood, but on a Saturday when it's that cold, you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna dress grubby. So we go to the grocery store, or we're heading there, and we see the balloons or whatever. So he goes into the grocery store, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go, and I just want to see about this pizza thing. Maybe we could be the 10th in line, and we can get free pizza for a year, right? So I said, it doesn't look like there's very many people there. So he's like, yeah, okay, fine, go. And so I went, and I, like a schmo, like I said, I'm in my sweats and hoodie and toque, and I probably looked homeless. So I go, and I stand, and I didn't really count, but I was like, oh, this, actually, I might be number 10. Like, this could be good. So right when I stand there, or I get in line, I get behind the last guy, he turns around and he says to me, yeah, you're number 12. And I said, oh, okay. And right away, he just launched into, yeah, there's 4 of them up there, all one family. Yeah, mom, dad, 2 kids, 4 of them. That's pretty fucking greedy. And I was like, I said, oh, that's allowed? Yeah, apparently. Yeah, you can just bring your whole, I think he said tribe. Now, let me just preface this story by saying it got pretty racist. Now, I'm recounting the story. Don't yell at me that I'm racist. I'm recounting the story, everybody, okay? So he said, you can bring your entire tribe. Now, they were East Indian, not Native American. They were East Indian. And so the man in front of me was he just did not stop. I didn't even say good morning to him. I just stood behind him. And he just, right away, you're number 12, whatever. And I said, oh, that's allowed. And he said, yeah, apparently. And I said, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, it's pretty fucking greedy if you ask me. Like, he's saying it loud enough so they can hear it, right? So there's a guy in front of him. Now, you know those lawn chairs that you can get for the beach? They're not the ones that they're not the tall ones, but they're low to the ground, so you kind of put them in the water, and then you're sitting sort of it was that kind of a really low kind of a chair. And there was an old guy sitting in it, and he had his coffee mug too. That's how, committed these people were to this grand opening. And he lifted his head up and kind of just spoke up into the air so that it was coming. We could hear him. He said, "Okay, buddy, you're already complaining about waiting in line. It's free pizza. Shut up already." And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, where's my big muscular husband to protect me if if shit goes down? There's going to be a rumble. There's going to be a fight at the grand opening for free pizza. So then the guy in front of me is like, yeah, I'm not even talking to you. Why don't you shut your fucking mouth? And I thought, oh my God, there's going to be a fist fight over free pizza. So I didn't even bother engaging with the guy. I kind of just stood there. I had, my toque, I had my sunglasses, I had a scarf. Basically, I looked anonymous. You wouldn't have even known who I was. So I just kind of stood there. I'm like, And then, so there was nobody behind me for a while, and I thought, okay. But again, you have to realize that it's 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, minus 28 degrees in December in Winnipeg. Do you really think there's going to be a lineup around the block for this, right? So then eventually more people had come, and so then there was a larger man who was standing behind me, and the guy in front of me. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the guy in front and then behind. Okay, so the one in the front was the one who was bitching. So then the guy behind me, he's kind of a larger guy. He goes and says, oh, it doesn't look like I'm number 10. So then the guy in front of me is now talking to the guy behind me, and he's like, yeah, family of 4 up there, all of them, free pizza for a year for all 4 of them. And the guy behind me, oh, that's pretty shitty. Hey, that's allowed? They should have had rules. It should be 1 per household. Yeah, I know, that's what I told them, but whatever, that's not very neighborly. Welcome to fucking Canada. And I thought, oh my God, here comes the racism again. Because the pizza place is owned or run by an East Indian man. The entire staff came out to do pictures and video and everything in the front door, all East Indian. So that did not help the white Canadians in line, who now there were a few more behind me at this point, again, are all kind of saying the same thing. Now, this is what's interesting here. So the guy in front of me, the restaurant apparently had done a soft opening the night before, so it was a Friday night. And kind of just on the down low, kind of hush-hush, right? Like, oh, we'll be open. So the guy in front of me was actually there the night before and got a free slice of pizza. So he's back again, this morning, Saturday, he's back again this morning wanting to get free pizza for a year. Or even just a free medium pizza, or large, or whatever it was. Then the guy behind me says, yeah, I came with my kids last night. Yeah, they got free brownies. It was pretty good. And I got a free can of Pepsi and whatever. So just stop for a second here. So the 2 of them who are grumbling the loudest had been there the night before and are coming back for more free things at 10 a.m. on a Saturday in minus 30 degree weather in Winnipeg in December. And so again, I'm just standing there. I'm not interacting. I'm not, I was just let them do it. And then you have somebody closer to the front of the line who said, yeah, you guys, just fucking deal with it already. There's 4 of them. So as I said, it was a mom, dad, girl, and boy. The girl was about 8. I can never tell how old kids are. So let's say she was 8. She wasn't very big. She's wearing Crocs in minus 30 weather in Winnipeg. Okay. So you've got the mom and the dad are kind of huddling around her, almost trying to keep her cold. She's shivering. So then you've got the white nationalists, behind me and in front of me, who are saying, yeah, maybe the girl shouldn't be in line then. Maybe she should be in the car warming up. Yeah, some shitty fucking parents you guys are. And I thought, oh my God. And then you have one of them shouts, yeah, you should dress for Canadian winter. And I thought, oh my God. So then the mom, the East Indian mom, I guess she's kind of had it at this point. So she turns around and she said, we're not leaving. There's a part of me that actually wanted to say to the woman, you know what? You're defending yourself. I get it. But here's the thing. You're outnumbered. The crowd is kind of against you. I would say just deal with it. Like, take the verbal jabs. Now, am I defending the racists? No. What I'm saying is, don't escalate it. That's what I mean. Let me be very, very clear. I'm not saying that she should tolerate racism. What I'm saying is, ignore it. You're getting the free pizza. Whatever. Don't, because also your kids are here. Like, just think about that's what I would do. I'm flipping this around to another situation. So let's say I'm out somewhere and somebody's yelling, faggot, queer, AIDS. I'm just going to let it go. I'm just not, it's not worth it. I'm not, now my husband, he's the one who's going to try, and I'd be like, Charles, it's not, just leave it. We're not. They're doing, like, just ignore it. Because they're wanting to get that rise out of you. They're wanting it to be an issue. They're wanting it to be. So yes, I would have said to her, don't fight back. It's just not, like, just don't. It's not going to help the situation. They're just going to say even more to you. You really think that you standing up to them like that is going to make all of these guys shut up? Probably not. So the girl is freezing. So then the mom turns around and says, I told her to wait in the car and she said no. So then somebody from the actual restaurant comes out, and it was the owner. How they knew it was the owner, I don't know. Again, I'm not really tuned into the whole grand opening free pizza giveaway in a little strip mall. We don't do that in my household. So apparently it was the owner who'd come out, and he said, thank you everybody for, it's cold. I appreciate you waiting, whatever. And then you have the guys, the mob behind me and in front of me. Hey, why are they allowed 4? Should be 1 per household. What is this? Is this racist towards whites? We're going to fucking boycott your restaurant. Yeah, good luck with your opening. And I was just like, oh my God. And so the guy goes inside. I don't really know that he either heard much of it. So then they also come out to do videos, for their social media or whatever. And then you have these guys complaining as they're recording the video. You have them in the line going, yeah, it should be free fucking pizza for a year for the first, I was like, wow, you guys, wow, this is so bizarre. You see videos of stuff like that online. I've never been in a situation where you have, a confrontation like this. I'm a little bit sheltered. So then they knock on the door and they ask if their daughter can go inside to stay warm. And then, of course, back to that whole, well, maybe you shouldn't have your kids out here, dress them appropriately. This is Canada. If you want to live in Canada, you should dress like a Canadian winter and blah, blah, blah. Oh, at this point, I was almost just saying, can they just open the place early so that this just ends? Like, it's just, So then there was an older white man who came out of the building, and he's all smiles and he comes, and so you could tell that he was with the company. I don't know what his role was, if he was the franchisor or the district guy, or maybe he's from the corporate office. I don't know. I didn't know any of these people. I'm just like, whatever. So the white guy comes out and he says again, just 5 minutes, everybody. Thanks for your patience. So one of the fellow whiteys calls him over and says, is it for the first 10, 1 per household? Is it the first 10 people? Because there's 4 of them. That's not right. That shouldn't be allowed. So then the older white guy says, let me go inside and find out. So the guy goes inside, and then you've got the rest of the white guys in the crowd now grumbling. Yeah, figured the white guy's probably reasonable. And I thought, oh my God, I'm hearing this, like, I don't know, there's just some things where you're kind of, do people really act this way? Do people really say these things? Is this actually happening? Like, really? So then they thought eventually, if it is going to be 1 per household, that I would have been so I was 12, I would have been 8 or 9, I guess. So if they got 1 for them and whatever, anyway. And then the guy behind me perhaps would have been 10. Yeah, that's what it was going to be. Yeah. So then there's actually a part of me that I'm standing there going, hey, actually, I mean, I'll just stay quietly. Maybe I'll be number 9 if they end up ruling that, in my favor, or that maybe we can't do this. But instead, all 4 of them did get pizza. And so, it was just fascinating to witness that, where you just have these people blatantly just, shouting racism. You have to remember, like I said, this is Canada too. Kind of expect stuff like that in the United States, but in Canada. So you go inside and they give you your little ticket number or whatever it said. Like I had the number 12, and it was just, now the mood changed so that the guy who was in the little lawn chair, the old guy who was just kind of sitting there, oh, you've been yelling, nobody told you to wait, just shut up already, keep it to yourself. All of a sudden, everybody's friends. Like, everybody was friendly and talking. The guy from the lawn chair had a book, a really thick book, and it had sort of like a nude art woman on the cover. He asked the guy who he was telling off, the one that was standing in front of me, he asked him, he's like, oh, I didn't bring my phone. Hey, can you take a picture of me? The guy wanted like a selfie in a sense. of himself at the grand opening. He holds up his, like, it was like a good 600, 700 page book. Like, this was a thick book. Can you take a picture of me and email it to me? So again, 15, 20 minutes earlier, he's looking up his head and just going, shut up, whatever. You're thinking there's gonna be a scrap, and now you're inside. Everybody's talking, and it's exciting. And take a picture of me and email it to me. And this is really bizarre. Like, they're all scrapping beforehand, and then you come in there for the free pizza, and yeah, somebody again said like, dude, it's fucking free pizza. Shut up. And it does. It makes you kind of go and say, like, yeah, is it really, that big of a deal? So as we're waiting, so we get into the restaurant. It was nice and warm inside. We get in there. So Mr. Number 11, because I was 12, he's then standing, he's talking to the owner, and he's doing it now a little bit more sort of casually and jokingly, right? Oh, like I was number 11. I could have been number 10, right? But like all of them, that was a noticeably different tone than he had outside the door. So now he's being nice, and the owner basically goes and says, oh yeah, I remember you from last night. You know what? You come back, and I can take care of you. I'll take care of you. And I thought, wow, dude. Now, so let me just give you the review of the pizza. It was kind of doughy. It was kind of, it was free, so whatever. But would I go there again? No. And secondly, too, when they were doing it, when they were going down the line, I would expect they're going to wear plastic gloves or something like that. And so they weren't. They were just freehanding it with, handfuls of cheese or bacon or pepperoni, whatever it was. And so I said, when the girl was preparing mine, I just said like, sorry, do you have gloves that you can put on? I just, that's a little bit unsanitary. So Mr. Know-It-All in front of me, the one who's, ready to fight everybody, he actually says, he interrupts. He's like, actually, that's not part of the health code. She doesn't have to. And it's actually cross-contamination when they wear gloves like that. And I thought, oh my God, now he's turning on me. I didn't even say anything to him. I just said to the employee, like, would you mind? I just kind of, I wasn't rude about it. I just said, would you mind putting on gloves? Sorry, that's just my preference. If I don't want your bare hands on my food, And I thought, he's coming at me now. Like, what is this guy's... his pizza's in the oven. He's getting a free pizza. Now he's, like, attacking the customers behind. Like, it didn't make sense to me. It was so bizarre. So then my husband, he ended up doing the grocery shopping, which is also a bad thing because he does that, and we, now we've got just tons of stuff that we're not even going to eat or use or have. And then because I was gone so long, he ended up going to the liquor store as well. So he's got he likes Canadian whiskey. So he's got that stuff. And then he comes in, and I think people thought that either he was cutting the line or that he was just, trying to get, but he was with me, obviously, but I'm sure they were like, wait a second, you've been here. I don't know how long I was there. It was maybe 30 minutes because of the time that I had got there and then waited, and then you went inside and then you ordered. So he'd done the grocery shopping. He went to the liquor store. Oh, and there was a pet store, so he ended up getting something for the dog. So he was able to actually do the errands while I was waiting in line at this like white trash lineup for free grub. And so we have the pizza. We get into the truck, and he said something about, not very busy. I would have expected more. And I said, well, minus 30 weather in December, whatever. And I said, but. So I told him as we were driving, and it's probably about a 5-minute drive home. Yeah, about 5 minutes. And so we get home, and I just said to him, like, I feel like I need a shower. I was just around the whitest trash that I think I've ever encountered. I haven't experienced that before. It was kind of strange. At the same time, like I said, you sort of feel bad. Should you have spoken up in the crowd and said, hey, you guys, that's not cool. But like I said, I just kept my mouth shut. I'm just standing there. I'm minding my own business. I'm not going to. People were trying to tell the guys to shut up and knock it off. Why did I need to join in? So, they were being, the East Indian couple, yes, or family was being hassled. The woman did speak up for herself. I'm not going to now all of a sudden turn this into a big, issue. So what would you have done? First of all, was it right for 4 of them? Would you have said something to the white guys yelling at the East Indians? If you were that East Indian mom, would you have turned to the white mob and said, look, fuck off, we're here, deal with it? What would you have done? And one more time, let me be very clear. I'm not being racist. I'm giving you the facts as to what had happened. And so East Indian, white, that's it was a very racist encounter, a very racist moment, and I'm describing it to you. I'm not going and saying, well, the East Indian. That's not. Let me be very, very clear on that. Okay, very, very clear. And I will tell you this, by the way, that. I don't know if it was last week when we did that whole thing about restaurants, and I talked about the Mexican restaurant that I go to and that I love, and my husband, all of the staff there is East Indian, and they are the friendliest, and they know us, they know our orders, and so that's I want to be very clear on that. I'm telling you what happened and what I experienced, and the fact that I was just so mortified by that. I mean, I didn't think that people, like I said, you see it on TV, you see it on viral clips on the internet or whatever, in Winnipeg of all places, which is very multicultural, which is very immigrant friendly usually, I thought. But like I said, I'm kind of removed from Winnipeg a lot lately, so I don't really know. It was something like I've never experienced before. So the email address, one more time, live, Live, at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. Turns out the free pizza for a year was once every month. So that was sort of the speculation in the crowd too, was, oh, can you just walk in? Like, can I come here 365 days? Is it, once a week? What is it? We later found out that you get a card that has like 12 punch stamps or whatever and that's your, free for a year is. So either way, I mean, the family got 48 free pizzas. I mean, if it was every week, that would actually be, I think that would be too much. And I also think the novelty would wear off. I mean, unless you make it like an appointment, like every Friday, every Saturday, every whatever. I mean, would you really want that much, the same pizza from the same place week after week? I don't know that you, but again, I've never won something like that. Maybe you would take advantage of it. Who's to say? Tell me, would you take it every week? How often would you go if you had free pizza for a year? Would you expect it every day, every week, every month, every couple months? How often would you expect it? The email, live, Live, at jbonair.com. We are out of time. I'm going to wrap this up. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye for now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up The Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com. Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real